Hello, welcome back to Brain Buzz with Mike. I am Mike Harrigan coming to you from the Braining Center. So today we're going to talk about stress and memory and something called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So have you ever been in a stressful situation and you just can't remember something? Like at a social gathering or a work event, and you know somebody, but you just can't remember their name. And the harder you struggle to remember the name, the harder it gets. And then as soon as they walk away and the pressure's off, it hits you like a lightning bolt, right? Well, if that's ever happened to you, you're not alone. Science shows that even minor amounts of stress can have an immediate impact on your memory. Like struggling to remember where your keys are, but really only when you're running late for an appointment and the pressure's on, right? So one study showed that high levels of cortisol are directly connected to declines in short-term memory. Now, cortisol is a very important hormone that gets released, but it really gets released when we're under stress. And the higher the level of the cortisol, they show the potential for a decline in short-term memory. Another study shows that chronic stress has a negative impact on spatial memory. Now, spatial memory is that system and that ability we have to remember where things are and what the orientation of objects are in space. It's a very important skill. It's very clear that stress can impede our memory. But it's a little more complicated than that, right? There are many factors that impact how stress will actually affect our memory. One of them is timing. So what do I mean by that? Well, actually, when we experience stress can be as important as if we experience stress. So many studies show that memory can be enhanced if stress occurs right before learning something. It can actually help us to consolidate that memory. But if we're exposed to that stress when we're trying to recall something, that's a whole different story. Memory retrieval can be hampered greatly if we're exposed to stress immediately before the memory retention test. So in other words, when we're trying to recall something, we want our stress levels low. So what does that mean for us? Well, it means it's okay to be a little bit anxious and stressed out when you're studying for a big test or preparing for a big meeting or a presentation, right? But before we actually go in and take the test or go into the meeting or to give that big presentation, we need to relax, all right? Now, it's easy to say, but how can we do that? How can we lower our stress levels when we need to? Well, one really good way is through practiced controlled breathing. And there are a number of techniques that are being used for controlled breathing, but one that's particularly good for enhancing your, for lowering your stress levels, I should say, is called the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. 4-7-8. It's very simple to do. It doesn't take very much time at all, maybe 30 to 45 seconds. You can do it anywhere, anytime, and it requires no equipment at all. So let's learn how to do it. All right, so it's best to be seated when you first learn how to do this with really good posture. If you can't be seated, that's okay too. You can be standing, but again, always maintain good solid posture, especially when you're practicing good controlled breathing. Now, throughout this exercise, you also want to remember, keep your tongue, the tip of your tongue, against the top of your, the back of your top teeth. Okay, so your tongue is going to be in that little ridge behind your top teeth. And keep it there throughout this exercise. You're always going to exhale through your mouth, and the air is going to go around that tongue, and it's going to make a little whooshing sound. So it's going to sound something like this. Okay? And you're going to inhale quietly through your nose. So it's going to go like this. Remember, it's called 4-7-8. There's a reason. So we're going to start by closing our mouth and inhaling through our nose for a mental count of 4. So like this. Then we're going to hold our breath in for a count of 7. Then we're going to exhale completely through our mouth, making that whooshing sound, and always keeping our tongue in place for a count of 8, like this. That's one breath. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8, right? Then you're going to want to repeat that about 3 more times for a total of 4 breaths, okay? So let's practice this together a couple of times. We'll go through 2 full breaths on my count, all right? So ready? In 4, hold 7, out 8. Here we go. That's it, right? Simple as that. So, a few key notes to keep in mind when you're practicing this, right? You want to inhale quietly through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Always keep your tongue on the back of your upper teeth, right? And here's an important thing. You want to keep the total time that you're exhaling should always be twice as long as your inhale. So it doesn't really matter how fast you count, as long as you're always counting at the same pace. So if when you're inhaling you're going quickly, then you want to do the hold and the exhale quickly as well. If you're going slowly, do it all at the same pace, right? You just want to make sure you maintain that ratio of 4 to 7 to 8. And it might be difficult to do the longer breaths when you're starting out. So in that case, speed them all up a little bit. Over time, what you'll find is that you'll start being able to do it better. You'll be able to take longer and deeper and more controlled breaths, and it'll feel great, right? A couple other things to remember. This is an awesome exercise. It actually is like a tranquilizer, a natural tranquilizer for your nervous system. It affects you really powerfully, and actually the effects get better the more you practice this and the longer you do it. So it's best to really practice this at least twice a day. You can do it more often, right? And really you want to do it 4 breaths at a time to start. For the first month, just do it at 4 breaths at a time. After that, you can start doing it and extending it and doing more breaths up until you get up to about 8 breaths. And even then, it's still only going to take you about a minute to do it. So it's an awesome tool to use. It's always there with you. It'll help you when if you're feeling stressed or upset. If somebody does something, you do that before you react to it. It even helps you to fall asleep better at night. All right? It's just an awesome exercise. I highly recommend you do it, and it'll actually enhance your memory. All right? Well, thanks for joining us again here today. You can check out all of our Brain Buzz segments on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, right, and search for Braining Center. Again, my name is Mike Harrigan, coming to you live from the, well, not live, but coming to you from the Braining Center offices here. Until next week, have a great one.